What's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be reviewing and showing you how to play the game Strata 5. This game came out from Milton Bradley in 1984 and it is for 2 players. Now Strata 5 is a game that involves building, and what you're going to be trying to do is you're going to be trying to get one of your pawns up to the 5th level. Or you're going to try to see if you can block, capture, and or trap your opponent's pawns. So there's a lot of movement that goes on in this game, and then you've got building, and this is a dimensional strategy game of sorts, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to play it right now. Okay, everybody, once again we're going to go over all of the components, and there's not that many. Right here you have your game board. This is where you're going to be placing your building blocks, and again the object of the game, the main object, is you're going to be trying to place one of your pawns over here, which are these, on a stack of these that is 5 levels or 5 strata high. And I'll talk about how the building works here in just a little bit. Right here you have your pawns, and as you can see there are numbers on here, and the numbers basically tell you how much each pawn is going to have to move. So this one will have to move 2, this one will have to move 3, all the way up to 6, etc. And right here you have your building blocks. And in the beginning of the game there's going to be 4 blocks that are going to be set on each of the 4 corners, and this is how you're going to start the game. You're going to be entering your pawns onto one of these 4 blocks. For me, I would do it on these 2, and my opponent would do it on these 2. The first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go ahead and move 2 of your pawns. So in the very beginning you can just simply go 1, 2, and then go 1, 2, 3. Something like that. And the next thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to place one of your blocks. Now another rule about the movement of the pawns here is, first of all, you're not going to be able to jump over yourself or other opponents. The only way you're going to be able to go over an opponent is if you land directly on them and capture them. You can only move horizontally and vertically. You cannot move diagonally. There are some rules as far as the building goes. One of them is that you will be able to place a block directly next to another block like so, or you'll be able to place it like so to where it's aligned with at least one side of the block. So you're not going to be able to place it like this. So let's just go ahead and say I decide I'm going to go ahead and place the block right over here. And then my opponent would go. So let's just say my opponent placed a 2 here, and he placed a 3 here, and he went ahead and he decided to place a block like this. Okay, so at this point the player's going to have a couple of choices. Either keep the 2 pawns that he's going to have to move. He's going to have to move 2. He can keep those and move them, or he can go ahead and enter another one, so long as he will be able to make the move. So let's just go ahead and say I move this guy 1, 2, 3, and I put this guy 1, 2, 3, 4 on here, and then once again I'm going to go ahead and place another block. So let's go ahead and say that I decide I'm going to want to stack a block. Now the rules for stacking a block is that you're not going to be able to directly stack one block on top of the other like so. If you had 2 blocks next to each other, you would be able to split it off like that if you wanted to. The other way you can do it is by using 3 of these blocks and stacking it like this. Now this is going to leave what is called an overhang, and that plays a little bit of part into the game as the blocks get higher, and I'll talk about how that works here in just a little bit. So let's just go ahead and say that I decide that I'm going to place it over here. And so now it goes back to me. So once again I'm going to go ahead and say, let's just say I decide to go 1, 2, 3, and I move this guy 2, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place a block right over here. Now, one rule as far as stacking goes is that you're not going to be able to place a block underneath an overhang. So I'm not going to be able to place this block under here because of this. So that's just something you have to keep in mind. So now it's my turn. Now, one of the movement rules is that you're going to be able to move up a level and down 1 level, but you're not going to be able to move more than that. So if I had, say, I had a block that was up here or something like that, that's 2 levels, so I would not be able to hop up that high. I would only be able to go 1 up. So let's just say I go 1, 2, 3, and then I decide that I'm going to go ahead and enter another block, and just go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to go ahead and enter another block. So let's just say I decide that I'm going to go ahead and place a block. Well, let's just say I place a block right here. Okay, so let's say it goes back to me, and this time I'm going to go ahead and move 4. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. And I move this guy. Let's say I move this guy 1, 2. And now let's go ahead and say that I've decided to place a block right over here. Now let me go ahead and talk about some of the ways you can capture the pieces. One of the ways you can capture the pieces is by landing directly on top of them. So let's just happen to say I had a pawn over here, and it was my turn. I could go 1, 2, 3, and land directly on top of him. What would happen is that he would end up going on my side, and I would turn him over, and he would go to the black side like this. So that's one way that you can capture him. Another way you can capture him is by placing a block on top of them, and that would basically be called trapping. So let's just say it was Red's turn. He decided he moved his pieces and things of that nature, and he ended up placing a block like this. Now, the block is covering 3, so that's legal, and it's also covering him. So now this guy is going to be out of play, and that is called a trap. The other thing is what is called a blockade, and this is a little bit harder. Let's just say there was something like this, and you had 2 over here, and he's not going to be able to move up because this is because this breaks the rules of movement. And this way he has done what is called a blockade. Another way you can trap a player is by placing a piece which would cause an overhang over that player's pawn. So as you can see, we got 4 over here. Let's just say this was placed. Since 4 is underneath this overhang, he is placed illegally, and therefore he's going to be stuck there, and he's out of the game. So anyway, gameplay is going to continue on like this, and eventually one of these towers is going to end up being 5 high. And one of the ways you can win is if it's your turn and you end up moving up to this by exact count. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, he would be able to move it up to that point, and he would go ahead and win the game. And the other way you can win the game is to basically either capture, blockade, or trap all of the other opponent's pawns. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you play Strata 5. So, my final thoughts on Strata 5. Well, this is another game that my friend Dude sent me, and this is another one of those games from Milton Bradley that they made that's a really good game. I gotta tell you, I think if you're looking for strategy games that are unique and that are different and that are older, I would highly recommend anybody check out Milton Bradley's collection of strategy games. All the strategy games that I've played from Milton Bradley have always been really good and really unique. Leverage is a perfect example. And they've got so many more games that are just really, really good. And I love just this one as well. Really cool concept with the building and the trapping and everything like that. There's a lot of moving, a lot of thinking that goes on in this game. You're constantly having to watch what your opponent's doing, trying to trap them, and then setting yourself up to try to trap them. And all at the same time, you're having to position your blocks just right to where you don't trap yourself, or you're trying to trap your opponent, or whatever. I mean, there's a lot that goes on with this game. This is another one of those games that is not hard to learn, but it could be played at anybody at any level, up to the age ranges, of course. But I definitely would recommend this game for people that like strategy games of any level, really. This is not a hard game to learn, but it's one of those games that can be kind of a little bit difficult to master because these spaces fill up really quick. And with the rule where you can't directly stack on top of the blocks, that can definitely make the game really interesting because that starts to cover up the board, and then you're going to start running out of room to build the blocks. So there's a lot that goes on with this game. Definitely a really good game. I highly recommend it. This is probably one that I'm going to end up getting in my collection one day. So guys, that is my review of Strata 5. I hope you all have a great day. Keep on gaming.